Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! In the misted-up bathroom mirror, a lifetime of pretense became visible. There he was, Duncan Reynolds, 50 years of existence etched on his face. The very image of respectability, firm jaw, broad shoulders, and silver temples, a look that seduced women and demanded respect. Yet beneath the facade, an unease stirred. Duncan's finger drew a line down the mirror, symbolically dividing his reflected self. The motion evoked a profound and long-repressed inquiry. His voice, deep and resonating in the tiled chamber, echoed the question. Who are I? A lifetime had passed in denial, ignoring the voice within, as the demanding roles of professional, father, and societal symbol of masculinity consumed his being. They had been his armor in the corporate battlefield, where he had climbed to become Chief Operations Officer of Reynolds Technology Solutions, the company his grandfather had started in a garage 70 years before. Water dripped from Duncan's hair onto broad shoulders as he stepped away from the mirror, away from the questions that had become too loud to ignore anymore. The bedroom felt enormous this morning, or perhaps he felt smaller within it. The California king bed, the minimalist furniture chosen by an interior designer years ago, all of it spoke of Duncan Reynolds, successful man, not of the person who had been hiding underneath. Duncan's phone buzzed on the nightstand. The screen lit up with a calendar reminder. Dr. Marissa Chen, 11:00 a.m. After decades of silence, the truth was finally scheduled into his day planner. The waiting room of Dr. Chen's office offered none of the sterile coldness Duncan had expected. Warm beige walls displayed subtle artwork, and low-slung modern furniture invited relaxation rather than anxious perching. Duncan sat ramrod straight anyway, legs pressed together, the gray suit perfectly buttoned despite the summer heat outside. "Mr. Reynolds?" A nurse appeared in the doorway. "Dr. Chen will see you now." The walk down the hallway seemed miles long. Each step carried the weight of 50 years of secrets. Dr. Chen stood as Duncan entered, extending a hand. She was younger than expected, perhaps early 40s, with an air of confident competence. "Mr. Reynolds, welcome. Please, have a seat." She gestured to a comfortable chair across from her desk. "Thank you for seeing me." The words came out stiff, formal, like opening remarks at a board meeting. "Your GP mentioned you wanted to discuss some personal matters." Dr. Chen's expression remained neutral, professional. "This is a safe space. Everything we discuss stays confidential." Duncan's hands tightened into fists on his lap, the knuckles whitening. "I've never said this aloud to anyone." The admission itself felt like stepping off a cliff. Dr. Chen waited, her silence an invitation. The word caught in his throat. 50 years of silence pushed back against this moment of truth. "I've always known I was meant to be a woman." There. It existed now outside his mind. The words hung in the air, irretrievable. Dr. Chen nodded, her expression unchanged. "Thank you for sharing that with me. That takes tremendous courage." "Does it?" Duncan laughed, a short, harsh sound. "It feels more like desperation. I've spent my entire life living as someone I'm not. I'm 50 years old. Is it too late?" "It's never too late to be who you truly are." Dr. Chen leaned forward slightly. "Many people begin their transition later in life. The question isn't whether you can, but what path feels right for you. My children are adults now,
My ex-wife remarried years ago. The company is stable. The list sounded like justifications, checkboxes marked off to allow this final act of self-honesty. This isn't about what others need from you anymore, is it? The question cut through the corporate armor Duncan had built around himself. No. For once, this is about me. The admission felt selfish and necessary all at once. The next hour passed in a blur of information. Hormone therapy options, psychological support, timelines, and expectations. Duncan absorbed it all like a business proposal, taking mental notes, analyzing risks and benefits. "I'd like to start hormone therapy," Duncan announced as Dr. Chen wrapped up her explanation. "And I'd like to be called Dana." Dr. Chen smiled. "It's nice to meet you, Dana." The name shimmered in the air between them, both strange and more familiar than the name Duncan had answered to for half a century. The first changes were subtle, little shifts that most wouldn't notice, but that Dana catalogued with careful attention. The softening around her jawline, the way her skin responded differently to her usual aftershave, the emotional landscape that seemed to expand, allowing feelings to surface that had been buried under years of practiced stoicism. She still wore the gray suits to work. The blue ties still knotted perfectly at her throat. But underneath, everything was changing. 3 months after beginning hormone therapy, Dana sat in her home office late on a Friday night. The house was quiet, empty, save for her and the weight of the decision she'd made earlier that day. Her fingers hovered over her laptop keyboard. The email to the board of directors and executive team was drafted, revised a dozen times, and now waited only for her to press send. "I need to inform you of changes in my personal life that will become apparent in the coming weeks." The cursor blinked, impatient for her decision. Dana pressed send before she could reconsider. The message disappeared from her screen, replaced by a delivery confirmation. It was done. Dana closed her laptop and walked to her bedroom. The walk-in closet that had once held rows of nearly identical suits now contained a section of women's clothing, still with tags attached. Online shopping had become her secret outlet, packages delivered when she knew no one would be around to see. Her hand reached out, brushing against a red dress. The fabric felt impossibly soft beneath her fingertips. She had chosen it weeks ago, but hadn't found the courage to try it on. Tonight felt different. The gray suit came off, piece by piece, a shedding of armor. The dress slipped over her head, falling into place around her changing body. The mirror reflected someone Dana barely recognized. Not quite the woman she felt herself to be, but no longer the man she had pretended to be either. Something in between. Someone becoming. Monday morning arrived with a weight of anticipation that made Dana's hands shake as she parked in her reserved spot at Reynolds Technology headquarters. The building loomed above her, 20 stories of glass and steel that represented her family legacy and professional identity. For the first time in her career, she dreaded walking through those doors. Her usual gray suit had been replaced by a charcoal pencil skirt and matching blazer. A cream silk blouse softened the look. Low heels clicked against the pavement as she made her way to the entrance, her heart pounding against her ribs. The security guard did a double take, but recovered quickly. "Good morning, Ms. Reynolds." "Good morning, Frank." Her voice still carried traces of its former depth, something she was working on with a voice coach. The elevator ride to the executive floor stretched into eternity. Dana watched the numbers illuminate one by one, breathing deeply to calm her racing pulse. When the doors slid open, her executive assistant, Jennifer, stood waiting, a warm smile on her face. "Your first meeting isn't until 10. I've cleared your morning otherwise, as requested."
Jennifer fell into step beside her, tablet in hand, acting as though nothing had changed.
The board members have all acknowledged your email. Most sent personal responses to your private email.
Thank you, Jennifer. Dana paused at her office door. For everything. Jennifer's expression softened. You look wonderful. Very professional. The office felt different somehow, though nothing had physically changed. The same desk, the same view of the city, the same photographs of her children on a side table. Yet Dana moved through the space differently, hyper-aware of her body, of the unfamiliar sound her heels made against the hardwood floor. Her computer chimed with incoming messages, responses from board members, colleagues, clients who had been close enough to be included in her disclosure. She couldn't bring herself to read them yet. Instead, she walked to the window, looking out at the city spread below. Somewhere out there, her children were going about their Monday morning routines, having received the same email she'd sent to her colleagues. Unlike her professional contacts, neither had responded. The intercom buzzed. Your son is here to see you, Jennifer announced, her voice carefully neutral. Send him in. Dana turned from the window, smoothing nervous hands down her skirt. The door opened, and Christopher entered. At 28, he was the spitting image of Dana's former self. Tall, broad-shouldered, with the same blonde hair and serious expression. He stopped just inside the doorway, his gaze taking in Dana's appearance. Dad, he faltered, unsure. Dana, if you can. The request came out softer than intended. Christopher's jaw tightened. I got your email. Melissa showed it to me. Melissa, his wife of 3 years. Dana wondered what she had thought, what they had discussed between themselves. I wanted to tell you in person, Dana said, but I wasn't sure how. So, an email announcement was better? Christopher's voice sharpened. The same message you sent to your business associates? You're right. I should have told you differently. Dana gestured to the sitting area. Would you like to talk now? Christopher remained standing. I don't know what to say. You've been hiding this your entire life? While you were married to Mom? While you were raising me and Julia? I wasn't hiding it. I was denying it, even to myself. Dana moved toward her son, stopping when she saw him stiffen. I never lied about loving you, or your sister, or your mother for that matter. But you weren't honest about who you were. No, I wasn't. There was no defense against the truth. Christopher ran a hand through his blonde hair, a gesture so familiar it made Dana's chest ache. I need time to process this. I understand. Julia's pretty upset. She's always been. He trailed off, shaking his head. She idolized you. And now she feels betrayed. We both do. The words landed like physical blows. Dana had prepared herself for rejection, for anger, for confusion, but the reality still cut deeper than expected. I'm still the same person who taught you to ride a bike and helped you with your college applications, Dana said quietly. I'm still your parent. But you're not my father anymore. Christopher's voice broke on the last word. You don't want to be. That's not... Dana stopped, recognizing the futility of explanation in this moment. I love you, Christopher. That hasn't changed. It won't change. Her son nodded stiffly. I should get back to work. He turned toward the door, paused, and added without looking back. I'll talk to Julia. After he left, Dana sank into her office chair the emotional impact of the encounter washing over her. She had expected resistance, but the reality of her children's pain hit harder than anticipated. For a moment, doubt crept in. The familiar voice that had kept her living as Duncan for 5 decades, asking if the truth was worth the cost. Her office phone rang, pulling her from the spiral of second-guessing. Work demanded her attention. Clients needed reassurance. The company required leadership. Dana Reynolds straightened her shoulders and answered the call. The months passed in a blur of change. Dana's body continued its gradual transformation, softening in some places, redistributing in others. Her blonde hair, once kept in a short executive cut, grew past her ears, styled into a feminine bob that framed her face. Her wardrobe evolved from conservative business wear to more confident expressions of her identity: red dresses for client dinners, black pencil skirts with silk blouses for board meetings. Work became a sanctuary of sorts. After the initial adjustment, most colleagues adapted to her transition with a minimum of fuss. Business continued. Profits remained strong. The feared exodus of conservative clients never materialized. By 6 months in, Dana's transition was old news in the corporate sphere. Her personal life proved more complicated. "They're coming for dinner on Sunday," Dana told her therapist during their weekly session. "Both Christopher and Julia, and their partners." Dr. Vaughn nodded encouragingly. "That's progress." "It's the first time I'll see Julia since I told them." Dana's hands twisted nervously in her lap. She wore a casual burgundy sweater and black slacks, her makeup subtle but present. "Christopher's visited a few times. Always alone, always brief." "How are you feeling about it?" "Terrified." The admission came easily in this space. "What if she takes one look at me and walks out?" "That would be painful," Dr. Vaughn acknowledged. "But Julia reaching out, agreeing to dinner, that suggests she's ready to at least start the conversation." "I didn't transition to lose my children." Dana's voice cracked slightly. "Sometimes I wonder if I made a mistake, if I should have just kept living as Duncan." "And been miserable for another 20 or 30 years? Put that way, the answer was obvious.
"No. Change is difficult for everyone involved,"
Dr. Vaughn said gently.
"Your children are mourning the father they knew while trying to understand the parent you've always been. That takes time."
Dana nodded, wiping away a tear that had escaped despite her best efforts. "I'm cooking pot roast. It was always their favorite growing up. A touch of the familiar in the midst of change. That's thoughtful. I just want them to see that I'm still me." Dana looked down at her hands, at the French manicure that had replaced the utilitarian cut she'd maintained for decades. "Just happier, more authentic." "Then show them that. Not just with words, but by being present with them exactly as you are now." Sunday arrived with perfect fall weather, crisp and sunny, with just enough breeze to rustle the changing leaves. Dana spent the morning cleaning her house, though it was already immaculate, then the afternoon cooking. The familiar rhythm of chopping vegetables and searing meat grounded her, giving her hands something to do besides worry. By 5 o'clock, the house smelled of rosemary and garlic. Dana retreated upstairs to change, standing before her closet in a moment of indecision. She wanted to look nice, to feel confident, but not to overwhelm her daughter with too dramatic a presentation. She settled on a simple emerald green dress with 3/4 sleeves and a modest neckline. The color brought out the green flecks in her hazel eyes. Black heels and a simple gold necklace completed the outfit. Her makeup remained natural, her growing blonde hair styled in soft waves. The doorbell rang at precisely 6. Dana took a deep breath, straightened her shoulders, and went to greet her family. Christopher stood on the front step, one arm around his wife, Melissa. Beside them, looking tense but determined, was Julia. Her husband, David, hovered protectively at her side. "Come in, please." Dana stepped back, holding the door wide.
Thank you all for coming.
Christopher entered first, giving Dana a quick, awkward hug.
Something smells good.
Pot roast, Dana confirmed. Your favorite. Melissa followed, warm as always. That dress is gorgeous on you. The color really works with your complexion. Thank you. Dana accepted the compliment with a genuine smile. Melissa had been the first to reach out after the announcement, sending a supportive text and offering to talk anytime. Julia hesitated at the threshold. Her eyes traveled over Dana, taking in every detail of her appearance. Something flickered across her face. Surprise, perhaps, or recognition. "Hi," she said finally, her voice small. "Hi, sweetheart." Dana resisted the urge to pull her daughter into a hug, sensing it wasn't the right moment.
"I've missed you."
Julia nodded stiffly. David gave Dana an encouraging smile as they entered, his hand steady on Julia's back. The initial awkwardness hung in the air as they moved to the living room. Dana offered drinks, made small talk about the weather, asked Christopher about his recent promotion. The familiar dance of family politeness covered the underlying tension, but couldn't eliminate it entirely. Finally, as Dana returned from checking on dinner, Julia spoke directly to her.
"You look happy."
The observation caught Dana off guard. "I am, for the first time in a very long time."
"Were you always unhappy before?"
The question carried a hint of accusation, of hurt. Dana sat down across from her daughter, choosing her words carefully.
"Not always. I had moments of genuine joy when you and Christopher were born, watching you grow up, achieve your dreams. But underneath, there was always this disconnect.
This feeling that I was playing a role rather than living my life. So, our entire childhood was just you playing a role? Julia's voice sharpened. No. My love for you was never part of the act. Being your parent has always been the most real, most important part of my life. Dana leaned forward, holding her daughter's gaze. The person who taught you to swim, who came to every ballet recital, who helped you through your first heartbreak, that was me, not a character I was playing. Julia's eyes filled with tears. But you weren't being honest. I wasn't being honest with myself, Dana corrected gently. There's a difference. Christopher cleared his throat. I think what Julia's trying to say is that we feel like we've lost our father. I understand that. Dana looked between her children, seeing the confusion and pain in their expressions. And I'm sorry for that loss. I truly am. But I'm hoping that, in time, you might find room in your lives for me. Not as the father you remember, but as the parent I've always been beneath the surface. It's just weird, Julia admitted, wiping at her eyes. When I got engaged, I pictured my dad walking me down the aisle in a tuxedo. Now you have a parent who would be honored to walk beside you in whatever way makes you comfortable. Dana finished softly. If that's what you want. The timer in the kitchen chimed, breaking the emotional tension. Dinner's ready, Dana announced, standing. Shall we? Around the dining table, the conversation gradually shifted towards safer topics. David discussed his new position at the architectural firm. Melissa shared amusing stories from her kindergarten classroom. Christopher talked about the house they were considering buying. Halfway through the meal, Julia looked up from her plate. "This tastes exactly the same as it always did. I was worried it would be different somehow." "My cooking skills haven't changed," Dana said, with a small smile. "Just my wardrobe." Julia almost smiled back. By dessert, apple pie, another family favorite, the atmosphere had lightened considerably. Not completely comfortable, but no longer brittle with unspoken tension. As they prepared to leave, Julia lingered behind while Christopher helped David carry leftovers to their car. "The dress looks nice on you," she said suddenly.
"Green was always your color, even in ties and stuff." "Thank you."
Dana felt a lump form in her throat at this small acknowledgement. "I'm still processing everything." Julia twisted her wedding ring nervously. "But I don't want to lose you from my life." "You won't," Dana promised. "I'm here, Julia. Different package, same heart." Julia nodded, then impulsively stepped forward and hugged Dana. Brief, but real. "We'll talk soon?" "Whenever you're ready." After they left, Dana moved through the quiet house, gathering dishes and storing leftovers. The evening had gone better than she'd dared to hope. Not perfect, not complete acceptance, but a beginning. In her bedroom, she carefully removed the emerald dress, hanging it with reverence in her closet. The woman in the mirror looked back at her, still with traces of Duncan in her jawline and brow, but unmistakably Dana now, in every way that mattered. For 50 years, she had lived someone else's life. Now, finally, she was living her own. The quarterly board meeting fell exactly 1 year after Dana had sent her coming out email. She marked the anniversary by selecting a bold red dress for the occasion, professional yet undeniably feminine, with a matching blazer that added a touch of authority. The boardroom fell silent as she entered, but not from discomfort. After a year of steady leadership through her transition, Dana had earned something she hadn't expected: increased respect.
"Before we begin,"
said Harold Whitman, the longest-serving board member, and once the person she had most feared would reject her transition, "I'd like to acknowledge a milestone. It's been 1 year since our CEO showed us what authentic leadership really looks like." Murmurs of agreement rippled around the table.
"Reynolds Technology has always prided itself on innovation,"
Harold continued.
"But I believe the most important evolution this company has undergone in the past year has been cultural. Our profits are up 12%, employee satisfaction has increased, and our corporate reputation scores are at an all-time high."
Dana felt warmth spread through her chest. "Thank you, Harold."
"No,"
he replied, his weathered face creasing into a smile.
"Thank you, Dana, for having the courage to lead by example."
The meeting proceeded with its usual efficiency. Quarterly reports were discussed, new initiatives approved, challenges addressed. Throughout, Dana noticed a difference in how she participated. No longer performing authority, but simply inhabiting it, comfortable in her skin in a way Duncan never could have been. Her phone buzzed with a text as the meeting concluded. "Julia. Lunch today? My treat." Another milestone, small but significant. Their relationship had been rebuilding slowly over the past year, one conversation at a time. Dana replied immediately. "Love to. The usual place at 1? The response came quickly. "Perfect! Christopher's joining too." A family lunch. Something that would have seemed impossible a year ago now felt like a natural progression. As Dana gathered her materials from the boardroom table, Harold approached.
I meant what I said earlier, he told her quietly. I've been on this board for 30 years. Worked with your father, then with you. I've never seen you as centered, as effective, as you've been this past year. That means a great deal, coming from you. Harold nodded. My granddaughter came out as transgender last month. 17 years old. Terrified to tell me.
His eyes crinkled at the corners.
I told her about you. Told her that authenticity isn't just personally fulfilling. It makes you better at everything you do.
How did she respond?
She asked if she could meet you someday.
Said she needed to see that a future exists where she can be herself and still achieve her dreams. Dana thought of the lonely path she had walked this past year, of all the times she had wished for a guide, a model, someone to assure her that happiness awaited on the other side of truth. I'd be honored to meet her, Dana said, whenever she's ready. Outside, the autumn sun bathed the city in golden light. Dana walked toward the restaurant where her children waited, her heels clicking confidently against the pavement. At 51, Dana Reynolds was just beginning to live. Her body continued to change with hormone therapy. Her voice had settled into a comfortable register. Her blonde hair now brushed her shoulders when loose, though she often wore it in a professional updo for work. The restaurant came into view, a casual bistro they had frequented as a family years ago. Through the window, she spotted Christopher and Julia already seated, heads bent in conversation. A family lunch, a board meeting, a promising mentorship opportunity, a closet full of clothes that reflected her true self, a mirror that finally showed the person she had always been inside. Not an ending, but a beginning. Dana straightened her shoulders, adjusted her red blazer, and walked forward into her future. Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!